بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Yeah, we can run. Most of the time I don't do a presentation anyway, so no need to depend on today either. So the topic for today is the beauty of time, and the basis of our talk is a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He is time. And this is referring to the Arabs, the Arabs, especially pre-Islam. Whenever anything bad would happen to them, they would curse time. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ibn Adam yu'dhini, the son of Adam hurts me. Yu'dhini, or like this adha, yani, it's like a harm, like he harms me or hurts me. Or in another translation, some say he offends me. Because you can't actually hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah doesn't need us. We can't actually, no matter what we do, it doesn't increase Him or decrease Him or change anything. But He's saying kind of this out of love of the human beings, that he is somewhat offended that they attribute their shortcomings and they attribute their whatever things that have happened in their life, that they attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, Ibn Adam yu'dini, he curses time, يُصُبِّ الدَّهْرِ وَأَنَا الدَّهْرِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they curse time, but I am time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I control the affairs of the night and the day, and uqaddir al-layla wan-nahar. So this is the basis, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I am time. And the reality of our lives is that how we treat our time is the test of our iman, right? That whenever we make a decision of where to allocate our time, we are making a declaration, or we're making a statement about who we are in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at any given moment, we have a choice of what to do with our time. And any decision we make about our time has a consequence, and the consequence is what we could have done with that time. And Sir Ratib over here, our economic expert, would tell us that this is called the opportunity cost, right? That anything that you do with your time, you also lose what you could have done with that time. And so what we need to basically just start to understand, that when we're talking about our time and the value of our time, is that every moment is important, because every moment is a reflection of the state of our heart, or the condition of our heart. So for instance, if someone were to choose, right, whether to pray or not to pray, whether to read Quran or to listen to music, whether to spend time with family or spend time or waste time with whatever it is, whether to seek knowledge or to sit at home and watch TV, right? These are all declarations of time that reflect the condition of our heart and where we stand with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the hadith, you can't even see it, which is very sad. This you can also not see. And so this is a saying of the Arabs, where they say that time is a sword. If you cut it, or either you cut it, or it will cut you. As in, either you cut your time and you divide it and you organize it, or it will cut you. So you can either run your time and organize it correctly, or time will run you. And that is basically saying, you know, some people say, you know, like, I love to live spontaneously. I just go with the flow. You know, wherever, you know, I spend my time, that's okay. And a lot of times we fail to plan properly, we fail to understand that we have to organize our time properly. And that's why Imam al-Ghazali used to essentially say that someone who does not have a schedule or have a calendar is going to inherently waste a lot of time. And this is exactly what this is saying, that you cut your time, you split it up properly, either, you know, by hour or by whatever it may be, and you allot or you point certain things that you wish to do with your time, and you prioritize your tasks properly, or else life will always give you something to distract you. You know, so either you declare for any given time that you're going to, you make the niyyah that you're going to do something in this time, or else essentially you will perceive it to be free time. Right? And we have in our time, we have the concept of boredom, right? That, oh, I'm so bored. But if you actually, you know, look at people organize their time correctly, they don't even have moments, right, to say, oh, I'm bored. And also the other thing is that we definitely live in a society that wants to expand as much leisure or as much time for leisure as possible. As in, we say, you know, I have to work this amount of time, and this is a given, that I'm going to be working this amount of time, and all other time, other than that time I'm working, I will be allocating it to having fun and some type of entertainment or some type of leisure. And so that's just not as Muslims, that's not our priority. But it is an important part of our life as Muslims. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So this also picture, I don't know, you guys can try to see it, but it's a man walking, and he's kind of, part of his body is going in the dust as he takes a step forward. And this is the saying of Hassan al-Basri, that al-insan ayyam, that the human being is just an accumulation of days, right? It's just a number of days, right? And every day that passes, he loses a part of himself. And so this is basically for us to understand that, you know, our lives are literally just an accumulation of seconds to minutes, right, to hours, to days, to weeks, to months, to years. That's all we are. And so essentially, we are nothing but what our time is, or what we do with our time. And when we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, what are we going to tell Him about? We're going to tell Him what we did with our time. And so this is a very important concept for us. Sajid, something came up. So when it comes to it, you can't see it, but when it comes to as Muslims, how do we take advantage of this time? And now that we've kind of understood the foundation of the value of our time, and that we're not to be reckless with our time, and our time should be balanced, but I think the main thing is that being conscious of how we invest our time, and understanding that the way that we respect time is the way that we respect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wow! Jazakallah khair. So this is just so you guys can see some of the past slides. So first things first, our society has a tendency to praise insomniacs, and it has a tendency people have a tendency to brag about how little sleep they get. But if we look here, we'll find that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Khayru ummati fi bukuriha," that the goodness of my ummah is in the morning. And in another narration, "Silah ummati fi bukuriha," the betterment of my ummah is in the morning. And even whether we look at Muslims or whether we look at non-Muslims, we will find this rings true. I've read multiple articles about, for instance, like Warren Buffett and like some of the biggest and richest CEOs and people in America and all around the world, and they'll tell you that they wake up at 4:30 a.m. every morning. They start their day off very early, and it is one of the biggest reasons why they are so successful is because their day is geared to handle their most important tasks in the morning. And if we look at the structure of our day, every day is a metaphor of our life. That we wake up in the morning, right, and the sun comes out, and for us, we are at our sharpest, right? If we get a good night's sleep, when we wake up, we are at our sharpest, as in our minds work, right? Our minds work the best in the morning. We're able to handle a lot of critical mental exercises or tasks in the morning, and then as we progress through our day, we become less and less sharp. And so that's why the first thing is that part of straightening out our time and managing it well is to take advantage of the morning and waking up very early, and then staying up. So a lot of people say, I'll wake up for Fajr and then I'll go back to sleep. Well, that kind of beats the structure. The structure is that you wake up for Fajr and then you stay up. And we'll get into that. So the first thing that we need to understand is that managing our time starts with taking advantage of the morning and starting your day correctly. And that you'll find that when you do that, the barakah of your overall day, the blessings of your overall day, the amount of things you can accomplish is, increases exponentially. So the second part of this is how does salah affect your time? And so when we start to think, right, we always hear these stories, right, of some Sahabi or some great scholars, how they used to finish the Quran like multiple times in a day, or they used to write all of these books and finish so much of it just in one day. And we always hear about how much barakah they had in their time. And so how do we, as people, who can be easily distracted by many things, how do we just increase the productivity in our time? And the best way to do that is salah, but it is a specific understanding of salah that will allow us to increase our productivity. And so when we look at this surah, the series Surah Al-Muzammil, which is one of the first verses revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ya ayyuhal muzammil, qum al-layla illa qalila, nisfahu aw unqus minhu qalila." And so He's commanding, Allah is commanding the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to get up. And this is specific for getting up at night, but we're going to just take the concept of it. And so He tells him to get up and to pray. And Allah's reasoning, or one of the reasons for this that He says, is He says, إِنَّ لَكَ فِي النَّهَارِ صَبْحًا طَوِيلًا. And He's saying, pray, get up and pray now, because tomorrow you have a long day ahead of you. You have many tasks, many things you need to accomplish. So when you pray, one of the things that happens is you have khushu', right? You have concentration. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us that He only created us liya'budun, right? We're only created for worship. So whether we're praying, whether we're making dua, whether we're working, whether we're seeking knowledge, whatever we're doing, this is technically ibadah. And so what we need to do is we need to realize that the concentration that we have in our salah, or we have in our dua, is the same concentration, the same khushu' that we need for all of our time, for all of the things that we do in all aspects of our time. And a way to do this is, for instance, if I were to ask all of you right now, we're gonna make a dua, right? We'll do dua, and dua is a known ibadah. Every Muslim associates dua with worship, or salah with worship. And so if I were to say we're all gonna make dua right now, everyone raise their hand. Some people would close their eyes. Everyone make sure their heart's focused, and they would be very focused in their dua. So part of this then is to take this type of khushu', right, that type of concentration you're feeling in your dua or in your salah, and say, I need to capture this, and then take it and apply it in the rest of my ibadat. And this will give you this will increase your productivity by a lot. So whether you're doing, whether you're working, or whether you're doing assignments, or whether you're spending time with family, or whatever it is that you're doing, you'll say, this is ibadah, therefore it requires khushu'. It requires me to be present in the moment and concentrated on this specific task that I'm taking care of, because this is worship. And so that's really the main takeaways. How does salah affect our time? Of course, salah, of the spiritual dimension of it, brings us more malaika. And our angels, the more angels we have, the easier things become for us to do. And of course, for instance, with our dua, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to make the dua, Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla. There's nothing easy except what you make easy. So Allah can make something very hard for you, and you may still be able to do it, but it may take you many hours. Or He can make something very easy, and you can do it in a short amount of time. But one of the problems also with our mindset when it comes to time is that we have all latched onto the reasoning of our society, which is that convenience is always what's best. We inherently believe that whatever is quickest, fastest, easiest, and most convenient is the best. And so part of us has to leave that type of thinking when it comes to time. That what is best when it comes to time, right, is that which has the most quality and that which brings us closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to kind of rewire and unlearn what we have been taught about time. And we always have these, so many concepts like time is money. We always hear these things about time. And of course, time is our most precious commodity, or if it is even a commodity. It's a type of neoliberal rhetoric, as they say. And so the first thing, salah, so taking that khushu' that you feel in your dua and in your salah and applying it to the rest of your time, and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make your time more productive, is the first step to really starting to find so many ways to accomplish many things. So the other aspect of our morning that is very important is Quran al-Fajr, and this is a ayah from Surah Isra, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Quran al-Fajr, He's saying Quran al-Fajr mashhuda. So it's, and that would be translated as like it's witnessed. But here, really what we're talking about is kind of the weight of reciting Quran in the morning, and its effectiveness upon you. Because that's really it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He says, مَنْ اهْتَدَى فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ. Right? Whoever is guided, right, is guided for his own benefit. And so what we have to think about when we're reciting Quran is, what is the impact of what I am reciting on me? And how will it affect and impact me, as in, how will it impact my time? How will it impact my ibadah? How will it impact my manners and my ethics? How will it impact my career? How will it be absorbed, right, by my heart and by my mind? And the reality is that we all have, we all get distracted throughout our day by so many things, and it's very easy to just get consumed in going through the motions, where you just live life, kind of going through the motions and not giving your time true weight. And so Quran al-Fajr, when you read Quran, no matter where you open up in the Quran, what are you going to find? You're going to find ayat about heaven and hell. You're going to find ayat that are very, repeated no matter where you open up. And this is just, if we talk about anything, this is to keep our priorities straight. That we are everlasting human beings. We are human beings that will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stand in front of Him. We are human beings that will be held accountable for our actions. So Quran al-Fajr is something to keep your priorities straight. And without it, you don't have this, Quran is the instruction manual for your life. So to start a day without praying Fajr and reciting Quran is a day that you're asking to be a very distracted and unproductive day. So when you put these in their current place, then you find that your day is very methodical. And the other aspect of this, no matter how we look at it, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala incentivizes us. He gives us through the ahadith and through the Quran reasons to organize our time in a specific way. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, He says that He comes down through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us that, right, He comes down to the lowest heaven right? Seeking to forgive anyone who's seeking forgiveness, right? So a lot of people, if they're really seeking for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them, they will wake up and they will pray tahajjud, right? In the last part of the night, which is right before Fajr, by the way. And they will pray this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us, right, a schedule for our mornings, right? So He's giving us, okay, wake up before Fajr, pray because I'm in the lowest heaven, so you'll be very close to me, and then pray Fajr, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps going. If you look before the Salat al-Subh, the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr, right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through our Prophet tells us that this prayer is worth all of the earth and everything in it. I don't know if you guys all of you guys heard this hadith. You know this hadith, right? The two rak'ahs before Fajr, Allah says they are worth the world and everything in it. So think about it. All of this world and everything in it, all of the riches, all of it that people have, if you pray those 2 rak'ahs before Fajr. So here we have the tahajjud and witr right before Fajr, and then Salat Subh, right, the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr, and then Fajr, which is also Allah gives us much incentive to do and many benefits, but it doesn't stop there. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, right, if you stay seated after you pray, the angels make dua for you as long as you're sitting where you prayed. So when after you finish your salah and you stay seated, right, the angels are making dua for you until you get up. So what is this incentive to do? Right, to sit and reflect and to make dhikr, right? This is kind of, see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is organizing your time by instructing you to do these things and advising you. But then it keeps going. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, whoever, right, prays Fajr and then stays up until shuruq, right, until the ishraq, right, and then prays Salat al-Duha, it is as if they prayed a hajj, as if they did a hajj and umrah. Why? So we need to ask, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving these such such great incentive? Right? But how does it actually look? Right? For instance, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when He says, you know, whoever memorizes the 99 names of Allah, right, will go to paradise. Does this really mean that if I memorize the 99 names of Allah, I go to paradise? Just memorize? No, because it means that the one who memorizes and understands it correctly will live a life that leads them to paradise. As in, having this knowledge and understanding of Allah will lead them to paradise. So what it means is that these actions will lead to these amazing rewards and will lead to a productive day that will pave your way, right, to living an amazing life over time, like we talked about. So if you look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has organized our morning so far, what are you seeing? You're seeing a couple minutes of tahajjud and witr. You're seeing a few minutes of fajr, right? And then sitting for maximum 1 hour. And you know, I'm not going to tell you all that, you know, I even do this every day. I don't think I know anyone that does this every day. But we are coming up on Ramadan. So if we say, you know, at least, you know, whatever we're doing, you know, whether we're praying, if we're just praying Fajr for now and that's it. But if we can just say, you know, one day, I'm just going to give this a try and see what happens. That's really it, is that this is a schedule that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for us that's really like pure ihsan. Like this is the ideal. And where we fall, you know, we may fall short of it, But this is at least should be our niyyah. You know, we can at least make our niyyah. If we fall short, we fall short, and that's fine. But you know, for instance, like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you know, like he tells us, you know, the one that intends to pray tahajjud but then doesn't wake up, it's as if he prayed tahajjud. So having the niyyah that you're gonna hit some of these goals is a very rewarding aspect. It's a very rewarding action in itself, right? And so that's Quran al-Fajr. What's going on here? Okay. So what gives your time weight? And so here we have an ayah from Surah Al-Kahf, one of the last ayahs, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا. So should I tell you about the people who lose, right? They lose their actions, or they're at loss of their actions. And so actions, what does actions mean? It means time. As in they do so many things with their time, but then they don't get any of the benefit of it. So قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. So this is very dangerous. And the reason why it's very dangerous is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. So he says, you know, these people, right, they do all of this good, and they actually are not. And he says they think they are. So in reality, why it's dangerous is that we tend to always rely on us saying, well, even if we fall short, we say, oh, well, I'm a good person. Right? You hear people say this all the time. Where they say, you know, I'm a good person, I have a clean heart, and, you know, I have my mistakes, but I'm a good person. And the reality is that we can rely on these thoughts, right? Oh, I'm a good person, but are we really taking a look at how we're spending our time and seeing the reality of who we are? Because we are, you know, we are our time. And so here in the ayah ends with فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا. So their time, everything they did, it holds no water, right, on the day of judgment. Right? فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا. It holds no weight. So what gives our time weight, what gives our time validity is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. God makes our time have value, or it doesn't have value. So it says الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, that their pursuits, their sa'i, you know, what they strive for in life is just for this life. Right? حُبُّ الدُّنْيَا, just for the love of this world. That's what their pursuits are all. That's the root of all of their pursuits, are just because they love this world and want to achieve in this world. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says on Yawm al-Qiyamah, their actions, right, are not going to have any weight. So that this should really tell us that our time and our actions, they require vision. Right? That we have a vision, and our vision is for the akhirah, and our vision, right, is for our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that every time we make a decision about time, it should be based on its benefit in the akhirah and not its benefit in the dunya per se. Because everything that's going to be with us then, you know, and if you were to ask someone who has passed away, who's in their grave now, where they would have concentrated their efforts and their time, they might tell you, I wish I put it where it really mattered. I wish I focused my time where it really mattered. And, a lot of times we really don't make intentions. We live life without intentions. We just do things, and we don't really, don't have the discipline to put a niyyah on it. And so when you even make a niyyah when you make an intention for an action, you're putting a stamp on it. And you're saying this action is for Allah. And then that stamp, is what goes with you into your grave. So, giving advice, this surah, of course, Surah Al-Asr, a lot of times people, they don't value interacting with others. They don't value connecting and talking with others. And many people, especially if you look at, for instance, Salat al-Jum'ah, everyone's rushing. And of course, many people have to get to work, but not everyone has to get back to work. But the concept of, I'm so busy, I don't have time to talk to people, is not from our religion. Because if you look here, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying? He's saying, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And so this concept of giving advice in truth and in patience, the concept of just connecting with people. So when we talk about managing our time, we should be just putting aside bits of time, 10, 20 minutes, an hour, to just meet with people on a deep basis, on a deep level, and talk with each other, whatever it is, about our struggles, about different projects that we may be working on, about, whatever it may be, and then just advising one another. And this time, right, this is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by time, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, and He's giving the remedy. The remedy is to advise one another. And so that's something that's very important, is putting aside some time just to meet with people on a very private level. If I just come up to you and I start advising you, you're not going to listen to me. Advice requires real effort, and it requires, a mutual relationship. And so putting time into having good connections and good relations with others, and advising, creating an environment where we can advise each other, or create a culture, right? Our current culture is not very receptive to advice. If someone advises me, they're offending me, which is problematic. Rather, if someone advises you, they might really, right? They could very well care about you a lot, to even put in the effort to advising you. So creating a culture where you can advise one another and creating relationships is something that you should be scheduling into your time. So open 24 hours, a time for this and a time for that. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So here we're looking at the saying of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, where he's saying sa'atan wa sa'a, there's a time for this and a time for that. And so this is that our intention, as we talked about, it transforms all of our time. What was sleep is now ibadah. What was watching a movie is now ibadah, given, of course, it's not something haram, but what was playing a sport, or what was spending time with friends, or whatever it was, whatever it used to be, when you have a niyyah, when you have an intention, it just all becomes ibadah. And so transforming our time through our intention is something that is very important to living a balanced life. And so how do you do that? For instance, if you go to sleep, right before you go to sleep, and you make your niyyah that I'm sleeping so that I can rest, so I can have a productive day tomorrow, this becomes an act of worship. If you're spending time with friends or with family, you can say, I'm spending time, for instance, making people laugh is considered a sadaqah, or all of these good things, right? Trying to back up wherever you're investing your time with a good intention makes the religion very easy. Essentially, it makes things easy. What you thought was difficult is actually just very easy if you're conscious of your intention and you transform your actions through your intentions. So family, sports, friends, exercise, they can all be ibadah, they can all be acts of worship. And a good guideline to go by is that if you are making your intention, and it's a good intention, you will not miss salah. So these guys, for instance, they're playing sports, and a lot of people, for instance, I play football every Sunday at MIT, and a lot of times I know, and I play with all Muslims, and a lot of times I notice that people play and no one even takes a second to pray, and everyone there misses Dhuhr. So what does that mean? Can we say that our sports are ibadah if we're missing salah? No, if you're missing salah, that should be a guideline to understand where you're at spiritually. So the point is that these things can all be ibadah, but one guideline to understand that, am I really being conscious of our time, is salah. So for instance, if you're spending time with someone and that makes you miss salah, that is kind of the limit. Then you have to cut it off and say, well, this is a waste of time, essentially. So here we have, this is from Surah Al-Mutaffifin. So business ethics. A lot of times, my uncle used to say, no one ripped me off in a business deal except that he had a beard that was this long. And this is kind of he used to say all the time, as a joke, which had some truth to it. Essentially saying that, a lot of the guys that they pray, they do so many things, but then when it comes to how they run their business, they have no ethics. But your business is your ibadah, right? Your career, you're spending time in it, and so that is a form of worship. And so it's not conceivable that someone can have khushu' in their salah and in their dua and do all of these things, and then they go and they're unethical in their business, and they rip people off in deals, and as spoken about in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, right? That you take a lot and give a little, or you're unethical in the way that you conduct your business, or even as they call time fraud, right? Wasting too much time at work, even though you should be working, just because your boss is not looking, for instance. So we have a different level of ethics. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, is always watching us. And we are supposed to be ethical people that aren't just, waiting for the boss to turn their head, or in business deals to take advantage or deceive in any way. So also understanding, like we talked about, taking that khushu' that you have in your salah and dua and applying it to your business and your ethics. And it's very hard in these days, honestly. It can be very tough to do that, and that's why the Prophet Muhammad was known as a Sadiq al-Amin, right? He was someone who was trustworthy and truthful. And that's why he said the trustworthy and the truthful, the honest businessman, Yawm al-Qiyamah, he'll be raised with with the prophets and the awliya and the shuhada, as-sadiqeen, that they'll be raised with all of these people. And so we need to ask ourselves then, how, subhanAllah, how being an ethical businessman is, these ethical businessmen will be raised with the prophets. So subhanAllah, think about this, how important being very upright in our careers and being very honest in our careers and ambitions, and what that means as a Muslim. So al-ilmu ibadah. So we all we need to organize our time in a way that it reflects our priorities, and one of those ways is to put aside time for knowledge, right? And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells us that seeking knowledge is fard ala kulli Muslim. It's fard, right? It's not recommended. It's not something good for you. It's not seeking knowledge. Al-ilm is fard for every single Muslim. It's an obligatory act, and it is more important than a lot of other aspects of ibadah, even more important than salah, in the terms of, for instance, not the fard salah, but the nawafil. And this is from an incident with Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, where he was teaching a man, and the man stood up to pray an extra prayer, not an obligatory prayer. And Umar ibn Khattab told him to sit back down, and he told him, "Nahnu fi salat." He said, "You're going to pray nawafil?" He said, "Nahnu fi salat." We're in prayer right now. So knowledge, right, is something that is an amazing, is something that we all need, and we need to put aside time. So generally speaking of how we should be spending our time is that we need to be spending some time with family, wife, children, friends, building relationships. We need to spend time in our spiritual development and seeking knowledge. And the last part of our time is our career, our purpose in life, and what we're going to achieve and accomplish in that thing. So avoiding bad company and bad habits. We also need to have the perspective that shaitan is always trying to steal our time, right? Procrastination is how he steals our time, and bad company and bad habits is the best way that he does that. And so within every group of friends, or within every group of people, there's a culture, a culture of how to spend your time and what gives your time meaning. And so if you look at the people around you, if you look at any group of people, any group of friends, or people who are close to one another, you'll notice that they most likely spend their time in the same exact ways, and they have a lot of the same habits. And understanding that, inevitably, if you spend time with someone who is known to waste a lot of their time, these habits of theirs are going to become your own habits. And so that's very essential, avoiding bad company and avoiding bad habits to the best of your ability. And so we see here, this is from Surah Al-Mu'minun, called Aflah Al-Mu'minun, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's saying something, وَعَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ, that when it comes to wasting time, they're kind of rejecting it. So this kind of concept of, when you're in a sitting where you're wasting time, it should hurt you. It should feel like you should feel like, I need to get out of this. And so we have this concept in Islam that we love for the sake of Allah, and we also hate for the sake of Allah. And we hate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like, right? Or does not like, so he's saying, وَعَنِ اللَّغْوِ مَعْرِضُونَ, that the mu'minun, or the mu'mineen, their relationship to wasting time is that they're trying, right, to kind of divorce themselves from it. But it's inevitable. You're always going to, it's inevitable that you're going to sit in a sitting where people are backbiting, or where people are doing this or that, and that you're going to have to make a stance, right? That I don't want to participate in this. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that if you want to be successful, this is your relationship to wasting time. And so positive affirmation is something, and you'll see it a lot, that people, they have the statements that they say that reinforce what they believe and allow them to accomplish. And I've seen this practice with children a lot, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also practices this with us, where here he's saying, and he says, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. This is affirmation, where I say, قُلْ صَلَاتِي, my prayer, نُسُكِي, my hard work, my sacrifice, محياي, my life, and my death are all for Rabb al-Alameen, are all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is to reinforce where you stand in your life, that this is all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it comes to time, that's no different. My time is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So spending your time according to this statement is really the key to opening up your productivity. And of course, like we mentioned before, understanding the end point. That this is where we all end. This is where we all end up. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And this is a statement of perspective, right? That to Allah we belong and to Him we're returning. We all shall return. This should always give us perspective. And it should impact our time. Okay, so Jazakumullah khairan. I think we'll go into questions, if anyone has any questions. If not, then we'll inshallah be having dinner now. Anyone have any questions?
I guess, can you expand on what, like God is time, Allah is time? Yeah.
Yeah, so this hadith is referring to the Arabs, and they used to swear or curse time, right, when anything bad would happen to them. So say someone were to, say their business were to go bankrupt or to fail, they would curse time, because this is what happened, right, in their time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they curse time, and I am time. And so I control the affairs, all affairs, and of the day and the night. And so it's basically talking about his qadr. So if you were to be upset with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you at a given time, you're not upset with time, you're upset with Allah. You're angry at Allah. And so this hadith is really opening our relationship to time with Allah. That if we disrespect time, we're disrespecting Allah. And so using our time in an appropriate manner means that we if our time reflects that we love Allah, that means we love Allah. If our time does not reflect that we love Allah, then we do not love Allah. So using time, right, having an understanding that every time I decide to do something with my time, I'm making a statement about the condition of my heart. So everything you do makes a statement about who you are. And we all have to work, we all have to do different things. So our free time, or we call it free, but it's not actually free, our free time defines who we are, right? If we all have to work, we all have to, but all of our time does. But specifically, you know, when we say that we're bored, or we say that we have free time, what we do with it shows us what we prioritize in life. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the Prophet Muhammad says that you have to love Allah and His Messenger more than anything else, our time should reflect that. And so just the point is that we should recognize the correlation between time and Allah, and between us and our time. Yeah. But originally, right, the hadith is less about time than it is about the relationship between the Arabs cursing time and Allah is saying that I am the one that you're actually cursing, so you should not do that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
There are many, especially for teens, or high schools, whatever you like to call them, where doctors, they say they need to sleep, you know, some numbers of hours, 9, 10 hours, and then you sometimes you fight with your spouse and say, oh, they need to sleep, and then you say, no, you believe that they don't need more than 7 or 8 hours. Forget about half of the night. Or, we are not even close to that. So, are they wrong, those doctors, when they say that teens or certain age of people, they need 9 hours?
Well, you know, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to speak out of a lack of knowledge. But I will say generally, I know that don't children and teens, aren't they growing? So and don't people they grow in their sleep? So the longer they sleep, the taller they'll get. No, I'm just joking. I honestly, I read that article. I know exactly what you're talking about. That people and children, they should not have school before 10 a.m. I read that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's a big debate, yeah. Because here in the United States, I think they go at 7:30. High school start at 7:30.
Yeah.
But some people say, why you wake up a teen that early? I mean, we have to wake up for Fajr anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say the reality is that our time should be after Isha, sleep, and at Fajr time, wake up. That's really what I believe. But also the Arabs, or in the time of the Prophet Muhammad before that, they used to take naps too. We don't really have this concept of power napping anymore. You know, they used to sleep, and they would close the marketplace at around the Asr time, I believe. And so this concept of napping, right? So just because whatever our time is, we should also be, taking half an hour during our day to sleep as well. Wallahu alam, I don't know.
Yeah, and that is another problem here when we are in this area. When you go up north, the night is very short inside.
Right.
So we do half of the night, 2/3 of the night.
Well, if you're taking from Surah Al-Muzammil, look at how Surah Al-Muzammil ends. He says, وَآخَرِينَ يَضْرِبُونَ بِالْأَرْضِ يَبْتَغُونَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. So Allah is saying, I know some of you are working all day, I know you have this, I know you have that. And so that's not really an issue here. If we're talking about tahajjud is a matter of training yourself to get up and going back to sleep. Like you get up, pray for 5 minutes, go back to sleep. Other than that, if you're working all day, you're exempt from that. And you can transform that all by your niyyah. Because Allah knows that if you weren't working all day, you would pray at night. So you can say, Ya Allah, I was working all day, but had I not, I would have prayed all night, and my intention is there. And so therefore you get the reward for that, as we talked about.
Don't you have to work 60 hours?
No, this is capitalism, Habib. It's not Islam.
No, maybe the point here, if you do Qiyam maybe or well tahajjud, that same work which takes you 9 hours, maybe you become smarter in 2 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of the 9 hours, possible. From the barak, I mean. That's
Okay, you know, Islam is very easy. Even the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he used to see Aisha radiallahu anha making very much tasbih, right? And he said, one dua, 10 seconds is worth all of this. Right? I can get you the dua. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Subhanallah wa bihamdi adada khalqi wa rida nafsi wa zinata arshi.
That's it. How long did that take him?
10 seconds.
Yeah, she was making dhikr for hours. So that's you see, this religion is very easy, subhanAllah. When it comes to time, there are ways, but the niyyah has to be present. And the desire, right, himmah, right, the desire to want to be productive in your time and to please Allah with your time. If that is present, everything else is there, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But the key is, after all of this, is that whenever you're spending time in anything, that you're thinking about it, right? I'm doing this, I have a clear niyyah, I have a clear thought, I'm conscious about the consequences of my time and the opportunity cost of my time. And that's really the most important thing at the end of the day. So just a quick review, take advantage of the mornings, khushu', the same khushu' you have in your dua and salah, have it in your business, in your career, with your family, with whatever it is that you do. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, intention, and you know, there's many things, but just a quick summary. Any other questions, inshallah? Jazakallah khair for bringing up those points. Okay, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering.